So, that Pan America ST sure is something in it. That's right, welcome back to episode 2 of the Harley miniseries, where we're talking about why I like Harley, the new models, and some of the big problems that they're encountering. So today, what we're going to look at is some of the new bikes that are coming out this year, or some changes to motorcycles that I'm really digging. So obviously, you saw it in the thumbnail, you probably saw it in the title. My bike of the year from Harley Davidson is the Pan America ST. I'm super excited about it. We're going to talk about it more in a second. But there is something that kind of flew under the radar that I wanted to throw in front of you guys, and that is the fact that the Nightster is now $10,500. That's actually a very good price for that motorcycle. We finally have a bike that is more powerful, more advanced than the old Sportsters, and yet it costs $1,500 less. That is a huge win. We still do not have an actual beginner bike, because no matter how much the people at Harley Davidson crow about the Nightster being a beginner motorcycle, it is not. But this is a great step in the right direction, and I don't think enough people are looking at this, because this is the first time we've seen a Harley Davidson almost start with only 4 digits. When was the last time that happened? But we're not here to talk about the Nightster today. We're obviously here to talk about the Pan America, so let's talk about the Pan America.
Is it any wonder that the motorcycle I'm most excited about from Harley Davidson is the Pan Am ST? I mean, honestly, would you expect anything else from me at this point? I really haven't been excited about a Harley cruiser since I rode the Nightster. I mean, the Nightster's a really cool new iteration. So of course, the first iteration of the Pan America to have 17s on it, of course I'm excited about it. Speaking of 17s, have you seen this VMAX? I mean, no you haven't, because I haven't released the video yet. But I put 17s on the VMAX, man. Look at this beast. Look at this thing. Look at it. It's so gorgeous. Now, I will say that the Pan America, I went through stages with it. I didn't initially love it, but now I'm starting to appreciate it. So we have to talk about all of that. But first, real quick, just a quick word from today's sponsor.
Has this ever happened to you? You're preparing to go out for a ride, but alas, you have nowhere to mount your cell phone. Whatever shall you do? Now, this might seem like a good cost savings idea, but then you realize you can't see your phone's screen through 6 layers of duct tape and zip ties, nor can you see out of your mirror.
You a big dummy!
Instead, get yourself a quad lock phone mount, which does not require any duct tape. Like, not even a little. You also don't even need zip ties. It'll hold your phone to the handlebars come hell or high water. I know, because I've crashed off-road with my phone on a quad lock mount. But you can step up your game with some 21st century tech, like wireless chargers, vibration dampeners, or my favorite thing,
Magnets. Okay, what, like making magnets, collecting magnets?
Playing with magnets?
Just magnets.
This is the Mag Wallet. That way I don't lose my cards anymore, because keeping them separate from your phone is for losers. Click that link down below and check out everything that Quadlock has to offer. And a huge shout out to them for sponsoring this video.
Okay, I will give you guys, just because you were patient enough to make it through the ad, I'll give you a startup sound. It does not like the cold. It's like 50 degrees outside. Actually, it's less. It was like 48 when I left. VMAX does not like the cold. It's also idling a little bit fast. It should be about 1,000 RPM. It's idling at about 1,600 right now. Oh, it's so good! It's so good! Boost! Whee! Oh man, there's a reason why I named this thing Hell. Not H-E-double-L, H-E-L, God of Death, from Goddess of Death, rather, from Norse lore. Because this thing is a death machine. Oh, it's so good, though. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Now, those are all things that I hope to be able to say about the Pan America. Now, I said that I went through a whole, thing with the Pan America. So, we knew what the ST was going to look like, more or less, because Senor Chung over at motorcycle.com got a leak, and we knew that it wasn't going to be much, that it was basically going to amount to a Pan America on 17s, which is a bit of a shame, but there are some things that I want to mention that are different between the stock Pan America or the Pan America S, which is the base model here, which is kind of funny that we have an S as our base model. That's not how it used to be, Harley Davidson. So, what is new with the Pan America? Well, it's on 17-inch rims. It is making less power, ever so slightly less power. It is about 24 pounds lighter than the stock Pan America, and it does not have the fully adjustable suspension, it does not have the semi-active suspension. And I was definitely a little bit bummed to see that for the exact same price, we have functionally downgraded suspension. It's no longer electronic. It no longer manages itself. So you have to set it and forget it. And to see that at the same price as the one that's the one that's completely electronically adjustable is a real big bummer, man. I mean, that's what separates the Tuono base from the factory. You know, that's one of the massive changes, is the factory has the fully active Öhlins suspension. And I'm sure what we have on the Pan America is great suspension hardware, but if you don't have fully active or the semi-active electronic thingamajig, it needs to be cheaper. It needs to be. It is infuriating to me that is not the case. You need to cut consumers a bone. You need to throw them a bone, cut them a break, because you're spending less money on this motorcycle. That's not okay. Now, what we do not know is how this bike is going to make its power, and that is actually very important. When that bike spins up on a dyno, it'll tell us a lot more about the power delivery. I would expect the power delivery to be more aggressive because it is a street bike. So I'm hoping that they tuned the map to be a little bit more low down power, and usually that is where you see a loss in top end horsepower. So seeing the fact that we have less horsepower, that has me hopeful, but we also have less torque. So I'm not sure what happened. I will say I looked online and the gear ratios are exactly the same. They did not modify the gear ratios whatsoever. So any differences would be in the cams and in the tune. So we'll just have to see. When you ride the normal Pan America, yeah, they claim 150 horsepower. It puts down closer to what feels like 130 to 120, in that range. It's an adventure bike. You feel the adventure bike DNA. You feel that it's adventure-y in its tune. Now, where have I been able to spot some big changes on this motorcycle? Obviously, we have the wheels. The front end is a little bit smaller. I think they put the actual adventure windscreen on there as standard. They got rid of the hand grips. They got rid of the engine guards too, which I imagine is where a lot of the weight savings came from. We don't have the lights. We don't have... I would reckon that we have a plastic skid plate on there. It still does have one because that's actually where the reg rec is on the bike, is down low. There's a few other places, but for the most part, there's no radical redesign on this motorcycle. It's very similar. And that's really where I was looking at it, and I was like, oh man, you could have done something with taking inspiration from the Moto America bikes. I mean, like, the whole tail end is almost identical. And it makes sense because it's an ST. ST in Harley Land, at least they told me, it doesn't stand for sport touring. It might now. But I was expecting just a little bit more to take a note from the Moto America guys, you know, because Moto America guys have been doing some really wild stuff with Pan Americas. In fact, I have been talking with a Moto America guy who does race a Pan America, Dylan Wall, and just a little bit behind the scenes talking about the new Pan Am, and we're interested. We're both interested to see where the differences lie. In fact, if I ever get the opportunity, what I want to do is I want to get one of the STs, and I want to have him ride it around COTA against his race bike, and just see if he thinks that it is the bike that you want to make the new Pan America race bikes out of, or if you just want to get like an old used Pan Am and go that route. And in talking with Dylan and looking at parts and doing some of the little bit of research that I've been looking at in the background, that's when I started to think, maybe there's something to this ST. Now, I'm not going to make an excuse for it being the same price as the fully built adventure bike. I don't think that should be the case. I think it should be at least $1,000 cheaper.
To give you an idea of where I'm coming at here with this, the Tiger 1200 GT Pro, which is the street-biased version, is $21,895. The Tiger 1200 Rally Pro, which is the base model of the Adventure Spec version, is $22,995. So we've got an increase of roughly $1,100.
But, you know, Harley-Davidson loves their pricing, and there's nothing new there. But I was looking at it and I was thinking, if you're really going to go racing, you want to tune your suspension settings for the current moment, right? And the semi-active, it might override what you want out of the bike. So having the clickers that you control, that makes sense to me. And I further looked at it and I was like, you have to pull off less stuff. If you want to build an entire race bike that is still street legal and modeled after a Moto America Pan America, I parted it out. It was $2,000 to do a full Moto America build. It was $2,000. That's something anybody can do in their garage, man. I mean, it'll balloon a little bit here and there because you got to come up with a system to clamp the dashboard to your handlebars, but you could use a quad lock mount to get that job done. In fact, that's what I would do. So it's an inexpensive bike to convert into your version of the Moto America race bikes, which is actually kind of cool. I feel like you have to spend a lot less money on the ST if you want to make your own version of a Moto America bike. They gave you a slightly more stripped back motorcycle that you could do a lot more with for less money. But then we start getting into, well, that's the idea with like the Sportster and the Dyna and a lot of other Harleys. That's like the Harley mentality, right? If you're going to make this bike a bike that needs to be customized, it needs to be cheaper. Again, it just needs to be cheaper. They need to knock, if they could make this bike $18,000, done. That's it. Drop the price by $2,000, done. And for those people who are definitely in the comments saying Harley-Davidson, last year's technology at tomorrow's prices, go look at the rest of the adventure bikes in the adventure bike space, and you will find that the Pan America is actually really competitively priced. In the world of high-priced, top-shelf ADVs, I mean, the Multistrada, the base Multistrada is cheaper by like $5. Just think about that. The Tiger is way more expensive. It's really expensive. I'll have all the prices on screen, but it's an expensive bike. And I would have liked to see Harley-Davidson make the ST even more competitively priced. Give the Pan America another shot in the arm, man. Just give buyers a reason to not just get the Ducati. right? Because at $18,000 or at 20 grand between the Ducati and the Pan America, you're actually going to have a lot of people just get the Ducati, right? Because yeah, you're going to pay the Ducati tax for service and stuff, and it doesn't have the Desmos, but it still needs Ducati service, and that's super expensive. But people are just going to pay to have the Multistrada because it's the Ducati Multistrada. But if you could undercut them by $2,000, you're going to siphon off those people. Yeah, the Ducati guys were going to buy the Ducati regardless, but the average buyer who's looking for like a sport touring motorcycle, they might be more likely to cross-shop you against the Ducati versus just getting the Ducati. Now, while we're sitting here at this light, I'm going to tell you a little secret. I'm working right now, and I actually haven't told the folks at Harley Davidson this. I'm working on an actual parts list that I'm going to try to buy. And then I'm going to try to buy a Pan Am ST this year. And I will convert a Pan America ST into a real, good-looking, street-legal, Moto America-inspired track bike. It'll be completely street-legal, but it's going to look just like a Moto America race bike. At least that's the hope. So, if you're interested, let me know, because that seems like a thing that would be really fun to do. Like, really, really fun. Now, as we're wrapping things up here, it would be remiss of me not to mention that there is yet one more video in this series. And with that video, we will be pillorying the entire rest of Harley Davidson's lineup, because I gotta say, man, very underwhelming. And that video is probably going to be titled something about "This is why I can't stand Harley Davidson," because I already did "This is why I love Harley Davidson." So, because man alive, the rest of it was just a disappointment, dude. Or, well, maybe it was a disappointment for me. And that's what we'll talk about in that next video. So stay tuned for that. Again, let me know down in the comments. What do you think about that race bike idea? And then while you're down there, if you've made it this far in the video, I promise you'll enjoy some of the other stuff that comes out on the channel. You'll be able to stay tuned for updates on that build and all sorts of other cool stuff. So do me a favor and just click that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything but a second, and it really, really helps out the channel. I don't ask often, but if you could go ahead and just click that subscribe button for me, it makes a big difference. And with that, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.